Good morning and welcome. Today we're going to look at dragon fruit, rooting them. But before we get into that, I'm going to say I did have a video shot, was planning to do an update on digging our sweet potatoes. I dug the sweet potatoes thinking I was filming and having footage, and when I went to look at it, the camera had cut out partway through. What footage I did have was horrible, but you're not missing much. It ended up being the worst crop sweet potatoes I've ever had. There were a few large sweet potatoes, but most of them were pretty small, and there just was not much there. That is what happens when you have a drought and your irrigation system gives up the ghost on you. With a garden like this, you end up doing it dry land. For the most part, that can happen. I did say I would share my failures, and this year the sweet potatoes were a complete and utter failure. One of the worst crops I've ever had. So there's that. I will have enough to use, but nowhere near what there should have been, and the size is much, much smaller overall. But let's get on to our dragon fruit. Now, we've moved these dragon fruit plants in. As you can see, these are some really large plants here. And they are not very tough as far as taking rough handling. They break pretty easy. I was moving this one in, and here we can see I broke this off right here. This piece off. Here's the piece that broke off. Well, but it's not a disaster. See, these dragon fruit are quite easy to root. And we can start our dragon fruit. We can buy pieces like this that are unrooted. We can buy plants. We can start from seed. Here's a seedling. You can see something's been chewing on him before I brought him in there. You see where he's been chewed on. But they're quite easy to root. They're quite easy to start. All of my plants are seedlings. I was in the shop doing a little purchasing, and they had some in the closeout bin because they're quite expensive in my part of the world. And I always wanted to try one, so I bought some and took some of the seeds out and started my plants. And you can see these plants have done quite well. Dragon fruit's pretty common also, which I didn't know at the time, but they use these for rootstock when they graft cactus. So you can buy a grafted cactus and get a dragon fruit off of it. It'll be whatever, much as these seedlings. We don't know what they're going to be until they bloom and fruit. And here I'm probably going to have to hand pollinate these. It takes quite a while to get fruit from a seedling, but we like to try things. And so anyway, here we have this piece. And it broke off, and it's been setting for 2 days. Now it's corked over, as you can see. It's dried out. And it hasn't really hurt our plant. This plant will need pruning anyway, and to be trellised as we trellis it up. Hopefully we won't have to move. We'll get these in place and in decent pots, and won't have to move these in the future. It's always, when we move them, it's always a chance of breaking them. And these are, my understanding, a tropical cactus, so they should do well out here in the summer, even if it does get quite warm and humid in here. But we take our prepared piece. I'm going to root this whole thing. And we have our prepared soil. Our soil's nice and moist. It was dry, so we've soaked it up. We're allowing it to continue to soak up until the soil is moist all the way through. I've made a little bit of a hole to get started there in the soil. We'll take our piece that's all corked over, and I want to just push it down in there so it's good and deep enough that it stands there pretty good. We get it there. Pack our soil around it. So it gets soaked in there, it gets packed in, and we want good contact to that soil. I'm kind of crowded in here yet. We're not fully done, and we don't have a whole lot of room. Take a little of this water that's in this pan, and just pour a little of that in around it to help that soil pack in around that cutting. I'll set it back in there. That soil should absorb all that moisture. Get good and wet, and it's ready to go. We'll just leave it sit here and let her do her thing, grow some roots. And that's propagating a dragon fruit cutting from a damaged piece off of one of our plants. And anyways, here's one plant. Here's another one. We can see one of our first plants right here. Another one. It's large. It needs to be. We need to get in here and get these things tied up when we can, as soon as we can, because this is not the way they should be growing. But anyway, that's our dragon fruit. I want you all to go out there, try something new, get your hands dirty, have some fun, and stay safe, and above all, keep growing.